Bonsoir, messieurs, dames. Soyez le bienvenu. My name is Leoncho Garcia. I have been a chess journalist since 1983. And one of the most interesting aspects of my job is that I have learned a lot about the many fascinating connections between chess and different branches of human knowledge. And one of the most interesting ones is economics. Therefore, I am delighted to be the moderator of this debate in such a prestigious site as the Stock Exchange in Casablanca, and with so prominent, special, very distinguished guests. To begin with, I would like to introduce a very exceptional person. She has been Minister of Economy and Finance in her country, Latvia. She is currently the Managing Director of International Chess Federation, FIDE. She is a chess grandmaster, and she is a mother of 4. I have the pleasure of introducing Dana Reizniece Ousola. So we'll have a short conversation before I introduce the other 2 distinguished guests. And to start with, this is, let's start with this photo. This is in 2016, Chess Olympiad in Baku, Azerbaijan. You have beat the world champion, Yifan Hu, and she is congratulating you. And this is my headline in my newspaper, El País. The most practical translation of this headline could be something like, what an amazing minister. My God. When I interviewed you a few minutes after the game, I asked you, what is the secret? I mean, your normal days have only 24 hours or maybe more. And then you told me that chess is the key point to explain how you had developed a very good time management capacity. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Leoncio. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to be here with you tonight, and share my experiences on how chess has helped in my life and what parallels I've seen in this wonderful game compared to the activities that I've been doing in my life, both in business and in politics that I've been doing over the last 10 years for politics and 8 in business before that. Yes, regarding this question, I've been posed this question quite often. Yes, you mentioned some of the things that I'm doing in my life, you know, being a mother of 4, working, studying, playing chess still. I think one of the things that chess has taught me, it is getting rid of procrastination. A human being is actually a very lazy person. I mean, if we do have any excuse not to do something, we will go for it, right? So, but since my childhood, I had chess. So I was training for 6 days a week, 5 hours a day. Only Sundays were the days off. And that's on top of the fact that I was going to school. So my everyday pace life was like school till 5 o'clock. I was running home, throwing my heavy backpack, having some food, and then till 11 o'clock in the evening having a training session with my coach. So I had to go to the tournaments a lot, and then afterwards to compensate the time that I had spent. So I learned that time is a great value, yes, and that also has helped me in my life. Being a politician, you actually have a very limited time, yes. You have given a time and a mandate to deliver, so either you use it or not. And this is really stemming from this discipline that sports, in my case chess, but sports in general trains.
But I guess this is just only one of the many qualities that you have developed through chess.
Oh, yes.
And have been very useful in your professional life in economics.
Yes, I mean, so many more, like being able to focus on the thing that you are doing, you know. Brain is normally wandering around, so chess is so important also for the little kids because it teaches you to focus, to be in this very moment, in this very place, concentrated on the thing that you're really occupied with. Yes, so seeing the playing field, being able to calculate at least few moves ahead, following the rules of the game. You know, sometimes people have asked me, what's the difference between chess and politics? My answer, after a thorough thought, is that you know, the difference is that in chess you do have the rules that have not changed since 16th century, I guess. Yes, when the queen got his, that time he's
15th
superpower.
Century, actually.
15th, yes, from Spain. While in politics, the rules of the game tend to change, and then you, at some point, even you are playing the game and somebody else is coming and, you know, kicking off the pieces or making the move instead of you. So that's the difficulty if we compare politics to chess.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a crucial position of your game against the world champion. Don't worry, those who have no idea about chess, don't worry, because Mrs. Leśniece Olsola is one of the few grandmasters I know that is able to explain this position without using chess vocabulary, I mean technical vocabulary. Because what is important here is the following. I mean, here you could have made some positional moves with no risk, but instead of that, you took a very delicate decision. You decided to attack by advancing the pawns that now are defending your own king. That means a lot of risk, because if the attack fails, then the world champion will have the opportunity to counterattack with a lot of danger for her. So, plus, the clock was running, and you were under a big pressure because you were playing for your country. So, actually, what she was doing is what many of you are doing every day, taking difficult decisions quickly and under pressure. How did you do it?
Yes. This is another thing that chess teaches you, decision-making, because, you know, also in politics you will see so many ideas are there in the air, but not that many that have been implemented in the life, because sometimes politicians do not take the decisions. Why it is so? Because it is a risk of losing something, yes? And chess is one game that trains you to actually estimate the level of risk and take it when it's appropriate. And every move in a chess game is a decision-making process. So you normally calculate, you probably try to remember some variations, you try to estimate the position. Sometimes you rely on your intuition. The ladies sometimes do it too much. But then you have to make the move, because you rightly mentioned time is a factor, yes, in the game. So decision-making process is like that. When you have this kind of a position, of course it's important to understand what is there, who has a better stand. So first then you try to analyze whether there is a quantitative advantage. If you have something more, you count the pieces, everything is equal. If not, then you try to analyze the positional advantages, if there are any. So visually, you would already see that white stands better because of the space, more space advantage, yes? And if you have more space, you have more flexibility with your pieces to maneuver, to put them in the better positions than the opponent. And one of the rules in chess says that if you have an advantage, in this case space advantage, you have to use it and turn it into some bigger advantage. Otherwise, if you fail to use it, it will disappear. Yes, and the balance would go in favor of the opponent. The other thing is, at this position, and given the context that I was playing against the world chess champion, you know, one thing that my chess trainer was teaching to me since my childhood, that you have to play safely, so that the draw is in your pocket, Remy, you know, to be on the safe side. And if you see the opportunity, you take it. Yes, as a general principle, it might work, but actually I'm very happy that I did not follow this rule in every situation, because it works very well if your opponent is equally strong or weak as you are. Mm-hmm. This principle doesn't work if your opponent, be it chess or life, is much stronger. Then, while keeping the balance, you would most probably lose, because the master will just overplay you. So my experience shows, especially in the real life, that if you have to face somebody who's stronger than you, more experienced, having more resources, you actually have to destroy the balance. And then you might have a chance. Yes, then you forget about playing with a draw in the pocket. You destroy the balance and then you get the chance. So in this case as well, I mean, first of all, I understand that I've got the advantage I have to use and transfer it into, for example, a material advantage. And I cannot be sitting on my hands too long. If I would be maneuvering only, yes, she would find her way and overplay me. So that was the reasoning behind this decision-making process. That is why G4.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I think everybody understood. So now,
I hope so. I don't know.
The next screen shows 4 positions related to economics. Now, my question is, from the very long list of qualities that chess develops, if you practice frequently, which ones are the most valuable ones for each of these positions?
Being objective and decisions being made on the objective data, yes, and being able to analyze the data. So if you compare also to chess, yes.
That is for all of them?
For all of them,
okay.
Of course, for all of them. Understanding the context you work in, but besides all the other things, I think one thing that is actually crucial for all of these professions and a chess player, it is a simple understanding, but quite often we forgot about that, that you are not the only player in the game. So as good as your intentions might be, as good as your qualities might be, as good as your analysis might be on your behalf, you should remember that there is an opponent out there. There is a competitor out there. There is also a partner out there whose interests you have to consider, and especially in the business, in politics, in the governance, you have to understand that you are a part of a bigger society. Yes, you have to count on. So if you think that you are the center of the universe and think only from your perspective, you would lose the game. You would fail in any of these positions. Yes.
And as you have been Minister of Finance, any specific advice for Ministers of
use your mandate and time. And I mean, as with any other leadership position, do not be afraid to gather smart people around you. That's, I think, one of the features that distinguishes a strong leader from a weaker one. A strong leader is not afraid of having smarter people besides you, because nobody is a universal soldier. Yes, and if you are a minister, most probably you have got the best management skills or some other skills, but you cannot be the best in every field. Yes, so gather the smartest ones around you.
Mm-hmm. Now, this sentence was said about 100 years ago by Aaron Nimzowitsch, one of the most important chess authors in the history of chess. A threat is stronger than the execution. Is this principle valid also in economics somehow?
Yes, in chess it works, and economics and politics as well. This is one of my favorite expressions, actually. How did you know? A threat is stronger than the execution. Sometimes you see that also on the stock markets, the balance is kept on the markets because everyone understands the threat and know that your reaction would probably then cause the chain of the reaction of the others. Yes, mm-hmm. So it's like part of the prisoner's dilemma. Yes, as well.
Yeah. When I'm going to talk a little bit about a very sad news, when Putin decided to invade Ukraine, this sentence came to my mind, because if we talk only about pragmatical things, besides human rights, crimes of war and things like this, well, if Putin keeps himself in the negotiations table, he could be right in some points. For instance, the necessity of Russia to have a free exit to the Black Sea. But then it looks like he has violated this principle. From the economics point of view, do you think that that was a very bad move?
Yes, I think that Putin, in his reaction and action, has failed to prove that he's a good chess player. Because of breaching this, this is one of the examples that he has breached this principle of executing a threat rather than keeping it as a factor in negotiations. And why I think that at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it is a losing strategy. It is so that you and he himself, I guess, would show that he's not a trusted person for the debate, for the discussion. So, you're trying to get your idea or your thought over the board, over the table, and if the other person does not understand you, you're just throwing your pieces off the board, yes? And this is not a class, yes? So, in a longer term, even if he would win this one battle, I'm pretty sure that the big war is already lost for him as a leader of the country, because nobody would take him seriously as a partner for the negotiations in the future.
Mm-hmm. In order to get a broader debate, I'm going to call now to the stage to the other two distinguished personalities we have with us today. The first one is not only the current deputy president of FIDE, not only the first Arab grandmaster and the first French grandmaster in the modern times, but he is also an expert in equity markets, and he is the co-author of several very interesting books in that field. Bashar Quadli. And our other guest is actually our host, because he is the General Director of the Casablanca Stock Exchange, Tariq Senhaji. Mr. Quadley, I also have a chess position for you, because Dana was talking about the risk concept, and I remember that more than 40 years ago, you had this position against the world champion, Garry Kasparov, and the game was drawn. You offered a draw in this position, and he accepted. In order to understand why this is important, I have to say that Kasparov was only 18 years old at that moment, but he was already a top player, a very strong one, and he was very aggressive. His style was very aggressive, so it was very unlikely, very rare to see him accepting a draw in such a very complicated position. So I think, Bashar, this is connected to the concept of risk as well, right?
Yes. Is it connected?
You have to.
Like,
Okay.
So I'll turn to French. I think it's better for the audience. Or
It's better to be English.
to be English for the whole conference? Okay. So, well, first of all, if it's about a souvenir, and I can say what happened, I mean, in that game. At that time, I was finishing my studies in sciences politiques and energy economics. So he was 18, I was 23. So just to put it in the context. So we were playing in Graz. It was a World Student Championship, team championship. And it was not Russia, as we were talking before. It was the Soviet Union. And he was on board one for the Soviet Union. And he had just won the Soviet championship. And he was, number 3 in the world after Karpov and Korchnoi. So just to put the thing, and it was in August 81, so to be very precise, almost 41 years ago. Of course, in this tournament, he scored an incredible score of 9 out of 10. He just conceded 2 draws. I was one of the lucky guys who made the draw with that monster at that time. And an anecdote is, in this position, why do we have draw in chess? Because this is, in fact, something that might be very strange for people who think that you should win or lose. So why there is a draw when there are not only 2 kings over the board? So again, Dana was talking about the negotiation, and this is, in fact, the status quo. Draw is a kind of status quo, and this exists in life as well. So you don't have always to be winning or losing. They can be things that can be balanced at one point, either because the situation makes it balanced, either because the 2 parties are just accepting that this will be a status quo before another battle will start. So this is the also essence of a draw in chess, and chess is an allegory of life because you have a battle, but this battle is representing somehow the society. When you have all the pieces over the board are representing something, and you have one piece, which is the queen, but in Arabic or in Russian it's wazir or firzia. And this, in fact, is a symbol of an advisor. And the advisor has an incredible power because the advisor can move all over the board, but can be sacrificed at any time. But then the king is just there and goes until the end. So symbolically, it is a very strong approach to the society that you have in chess. And here we have agreed to a draw, and I remember I told my captain, who became later, he was the very close advisor, he was not sacrificed, to the Minister of Communication, Catherine Trottmann, and he was our chief of delegation, head of delegation, and I told him, I think the position is slightly better even for me. And at that time, Kasparov had only 20 minutes and I had 1 hour on my clock. And so he told me, but why do you ask me? He is Kasparov. I said, you are the captain. And we are playing, it's a team competition, so I have just to ask you what will happen. And he said, you think you will accept? I said, I don't know, but can I? And said, yes. And Kasparov thought 15 minutes, and he accepted, and he was very angry. And when we analyzed the game after, I saw that he has seen so many things. And the game started with a psychological eye looking at the beginning. He was staring at me with, you know, his very particular eyes at the beginning of the game, trying to impress me. I was, of course, I knew that he was much stronger, but it was not the way. So I stared at him at the same time. Then he just went down 3 times. And after that, after the 3rd time, he was smiling, I smiled, we shook hands, and we started the game. This is a little bit the story of that game, but again, to show that in chess, draw is a very, very, very important thing. And you can see in many crises in situations in the world, you have status quo that can last for years, for decades, where the people wait until there is a way to get out from that status quo.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very significant story. Thank you very much. We will take questions from you at the end, but let me now continue with Mr. Senhaji. It is very clear to me that as your, well, both as General Director of the Stock Exchange and a chess lover, you could talk for maybe hours about the very interesting connections between chess and economics. So I much prefer to offer you the possibility to choose which subject do you want to cover, and actually I will give you the remote control as well.
Okay, so I wanted to take the time to first thank you, our esteemed guest, for accepting our invitation. We are very lucky in chess that our champions are not only very good at chess and very smart people, but they're also fantastic role models. And you know, some of Leoncio and Bashar being, you know, the first Arab grandmaster is people I grew up loving. So it's a fantastic opportunity to have you here. But I wanted to say a special word as well for Dana, because I think, you know, being Minister of Finance is definitely, I know a little bit about government, by far the worst job in any government.
Because you are supposed to be the Madam No.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You are the one to say we don't have the money to do it. And the worst thing is generally the head of government say, oh, no problem, just go see the Minister of Finance. And the ability to do that job and at the same time extend a fantastic sporting career as we've seen, and at the same time having a work-life balance, I think you're an inspiration. I don't think it's only for women, but I think all people in finance should take inspiration. So thank you for accepting our invitation. I am happy because I am the host, so I'm on the table not on the basis of my intelligence, but just because I own the place. So that's something first to be said. So as you said, Leoncio, so many thoughts and so many connections. As you know, I got into finance because I love mathematics. And so the combo mathematics and finance and chess there are so many fields. So I had to frame a little bit my ideas. So I put together some slides just to frame my ideas and also to frame the analogies because there are so many. So the first thing I wanted to do is compare chess with investment, just because all the other topics are interesting, and also investment on regulated markets. So you are going to, first, what is investment in regulated markets? Generally, it's a stock exchange, it's securities, it's something where information is widely available. It's not private markets. And why do I do that? Because in the stock exchange, people love trading because everybody is on the same footing. Everybody has the same information. Whether you have $100 or whether you manage 100 billion, you're at exactly the same point as the others. So essentially, trading in a stock exchange, for example, is viewed, that's why there is all this myth about traders, is viewed as the purest form of investing. And on the other side, obviously, chess is viewed as the king of all intellectual games, the intellectual game in its purest form. So that's why I think the first thing to note is that both of them, when you play, you have complete information, but you have incomplete knowledge. Yes, on the chessboard you can see the pieces and you have all the information, but you don't know which is the best move. You need a supercomputer to tell you that. So when you're at the board, you try to do your best, and it's about what's in front of you. So I'm going to put along quotes from famous people, whether from trading and finance or whether it's from chess, just to see how comparable they are. So the first quote obviously is from Peter Lynch in investment. He says, know what you own and why you own it. So, investing is not, it is an intellectual game. It's not just by being lucky. And, a chess proverb, a very famous proverb, which is saying a player surprised is already half beaten. So you have to know what you're doing, essentially. And I think that's why people are attracted to both disciplines. So the second one is essentially, if I want to be sounding smart, both are what we call in mathematics Markovian processes, which means that you get, it's the famous story of efficient markets. The prices that are reflected today in the stock market and other markets reflect all the information that the players have. Because if they were thinking differently, they would have moved the price anyway. And in chess, it's the same thing. When you get into a position, you don't need to know how you got into the position. The position is by itself sufficient for you to finish the game. For both, no prior history is required. If you're a trader and you get a position, you get a stock, then it's enough. It's all the information that you need. You have 100 stocks of Google's and 200 stocks of Apple. That's enough. So obviously, we shouldn't confuse history with experience. You need experience. You need to see a lot of things, but each position is a new one. The third aspect is that both of them are relatively short-term things. You finish a game of chess. When you start a new one, it's like you're starting fresh. In markets, in trading, generally a game of trading finishes at the year end. So you have a P&L, you manage your P&L at the end of the year, you put your P&L into a piece of paper, either you get a nice bonus or a bad bonus, and then you start from zero. So it's exactly the same as a game of chess. One other thing that I find interesting in both of them, and I think Dana touched on this, that in chess you have to make a choice. It's not about just hanging around. Chess is committal. You have to make a choice, and you have a relatively limited number of moves. So generally you have maybe 10, 15 possible moves, maybe more, but generally you kind of eliminate and you find maybe 5, 6 moves. And you have to make a choice, and it's a tough one, but time is of the essence. On the other hand, when you're a trader, generally you don't follow many stocks. You follow maybe a sector, you follow indices, and generally you follow up to 20 positions, 20 companies, because you can't follow the news more than that. And so each day you arrive and you have just a limited number of moves that you make. Either I buy or I sell. And it's not infinite. You either can buy it or you can sell it, or you can do nothing. So it's a bit like chess. Either you push your piece or not. And both of them has this mechanism that we call in trading stop loss. Stop loss in trading is you are a trader, you start trading, but the bank which you are working for, or the company you are working for, or the fund, they set you a stop loss, which is the maximum amount of money you can lose. And if you lose that amount of money, you are stopped. So the game finishes for you. And in chess, it's the same thing. You can arrive in one position, but it can't be through a checkmate. If you're checkmated, you just exit. And so both of them have this mechanism that you have a stop loss. And essentially, your job is to manage the entropy through the game. So as you know, the entropy in physics is the chaos. It's a measure of chaos. So generally, when you start, you have a number of choices in the beginning of the year. In the middle of the year, it becomes chaotic because you have a lot of choices, so your entropy increases. But by the end of the year, you know roughly where your PNL is, so the entropy is kind of reducing. And it's the same in a game of chess, as you know. The beginning is relatively standard, the middle game is extremely complicated, and the end game, things become simpler. So then you might ask me, yeah, but you are cheating, actually. Because in chess, it's one move, you make one move, but in trading, it's a continuous thing. So I heard that, you can do day trading, so you can do infinite moves in one day. And obviously, I'm a classical trader, so I believe that there is very little value in continuous trading. So continuous trading doesn't give you anything. It's nice, people talk about it, but it's a little bit like a bullet player. You make a lot of games, but it's actually worthless. In day trading, just to give you one statistic, if you look at the cumulative gain of overnight trading on the S&P, it's 571%. So you don't do anything; you just buy at the end of the day, and you sell at the beginning of the day. If you look at day trading, since 1993, you would be down 4.4%. So it's better to do nothing. I mean, as Warren Buffett says, you have to be there for the long term. But try to be smart and do day trading. It doesn't get you anywhere. I call this no takebacks. In chess, once you push your piece, you can't say, oh, I'm sorry, I want to take it back. It's the same thing in trading. Once you take a position, then you're in. You can't just get out. And so a few things to illustrate that. Fantastic saying in chess, good positions don't win you games, good moves do. So you have to go and earn that win for you. You had a very nice quote this morning, a chess quote. We have the same one in investing. The biggest risk of all is not taking one in investing, but it's the same thing as you said in chess. I mean, the last one is obvious, that you have to take risks if you want to do anything with in investing. So the other thing that I found is that essentially both are what characterize chess as a game, and I think that's maybe the beauty of it and the frustration. It's a turn-based game. So you push your piece, and you have to wait for someone on the other side to push your piece. And that's very symptomatic of chess. The funny thing, and the second thing, obviously, so you have to manage the waiting time. You wait for 50% of the time. So you have to be a very patient player. And especially when you're young, you generally leave your opponent to think a lot, and you become impatient and you play quickly, which is completely stupid. You give them a lot of time, and you take out a lot of your time. But the second thing which I find interesting in chess and in trading is that you are playing against yourself. What I call you are playing against yourself. You are trying to find the best move. You don't play in chess and say, well, I am going to do a weak move because I think he's not going to see it and he's going to respond in a bad way. In trading, we have as well the market. You respect the market. You are playing against the market. You are not waiting for someone to make a stupid mistake because the market is a big one. So you conceptualize it in your head as you are playing against the market. And the same thing is chess. When you trade, you want to make the best decision, not just a decision because you think you might get someone to do something stupid. So some quotes to illustrate that. Actually, Peter Thiel is a star trader on Wall Street, but also he's a fantastic chess player. So I wasn't sure which way I should put him. But he said, in relation to investment, the most contrarian thing of all is not to oppose the crowd, but to think for yourself. And that's a deep one, obviously, because once you are facing a situation, you can either say, well, everybody is right and I should go with everyone, or you might get a fancy and say, I want to prove everybody is wrong and I'm going to do the opposite. And the most difficult one is to, take out the noise and just think for yourself and say, what do I think about this position? As a trader, your job is on the line, so you better, die with your own convictions than with someone else. And it's the same in chess. I love the last one by Akiba Rubinstein. He says, who is my opponent tonight? Tonight I'm playing against the black pieces. So I'm not playing against a human, I'm playing against myself and trying to become the best one. And I think the middle one is quite obvious as well. Obviously, the psychology aspects, I think chess is very important to structure your thoughts, and in trading as well, it's very important. In trading, the first thing they tell you is do not get attached to your position. So sometimes you would buy a company, I don't know, let's say LVMH.
Kodak.
Yeah, no, it's something you have an attachment, an emotional attachment to. So you buy LVMH because you love actually their goods. But the company might be turning bad, but just you will have that emotional attachment to say, no, I'm sure they will be back. You have to block out this and be very very structured about the way you do it. And the second thing, I said it about chess, but in trading it's the same as well. A lot of junior traders, they come in and they want to, show off. And so they try to, they take a lot of positions and they try to force the issue, what I call try to force the issue. If the market, and we'll see it later, if the market is not there, then you might gesticulate as much as possible. If there is no movement, you are not going to make any PNL. Actually, you are going to lose because you have all those costs of getting in and getting out. So obviously, investment, I think the first one is quite obvious. The second one is very popular in chess, that any plan at all, even a bad one, is better than none. Just trying to be short-termist is completely stupid in trading, and it's completely stupid in chess. In general, you lose very quickly in both. So you have to be in the mind that you are there for the long run, and if you see an opportunity, if you see a tactical opportunity to win a game in chess, then you take it, but you never try to finish it too quickly if the win is not there. The first one obviously is a bit harsh, but you cannot play chess if you are kind-hearted. And I think the second one, I mean, from Buffett says the same, is that the most important quality is temperament. I mean, in my days as a head of trading floor, you look for a trader with the stability, psychological stability first. He might be the most talented one, but if he can't stand pressure and he can't, structure his ideas, then he's not good. So this last portion, I mean, just to make sure that everybody is aware that I am a super geek. So I went a little bit further in the analysis. I wanted to use some data and some mathematics with this. So I've looked at a concept which is quite advanced in chess, and it's quite advanced in trading, which is the concept of critical moments. So I looked at one of the very recent games just because I had the data. So this is the very important game in the last round of the Romania Classic between Maxime Vacher-Lagrave and Alireza Firouzja, two of the very top players. And it's an important game because MVL, as he's called, the black player, MVL had to win this game. And this is a not-in position. I mean, for me, I don't understand why it is important. But MVL here takes 20 minutes to think about it. And just to give you an idea, he had 90 minutes for 40 moves. So essentially 2.5%, he should use 2.5%. Instead, he uses 10 times that. He uses 22% of his allotted time on one move, which is obviously showcases how little I know about chess, because I don't see what's special about this move. But what I can see is there is probably 3 moves here, which is the 2 rooks and the queen. But he decided that it's worth taking almost a quarter of his time, which is very important in chess. And so it got me thinking about what's the move time frequency of a player. I would have thought that a player will have 40 moves and he will take 2.5% of his time for each move. And when I looked at the data, it doesn't support it at all. What it looks like is that there are what I call critical moments in a game. Well, Dana knows it already, but I had to do a lot of maths to arrive to that. But there are these critical moments that you have to sit down and invest time. And that's from MVL side, and that's from the white side. And we can say that both of them have this data, which is, I mean, for statisticians, you can see what I'm arriving at. It's like what we call a Gaussian distribution. So you have a lot of times where you just play a move quickly. Obviously, you can discount the opening because they know already the opening, but still, they play a lot of moves very quickly, between 1 and 2 minutes, and then they take their time and invest a lot of time in very specific moves. And that got me thinking about stock market. So in the stock market, we have a very big problem, but thankfully it's there, because otherwise we would know a lot of things, which is famously called the black swan. So the black swan is, I mean, for the story, it has been devised by an economic thinker. It's a very rare, I mean, most of the swans are white, and it's extremely rare there is a black swan. So a black swan for the Casablanca Stock Exchange is last time we had COVID, the market tanked 25%, minus 25% in a very few trading sessions. While most of the time, as you can see, we are in the middle. So this is quite an interesting one, but it shows something important, that the market, when you are a trader, and it is a relatively advanced topic, you make your money as a trader in 5% of the trading sessions. 95% of the trading sessions are completely useless. There is not much happening, there is no volume, there is no liquidity. So as I said, the junior trader may jump around, the senior trader will just sit back and continue to watch, continue to understand, continue to have that strategic thinking about what's going on, but he would not make a move. And it's quite similar. So just to interpret here, if we look at the 2020s, I mean, they've done the data for everything, it supports it. But if you take 2020s, the stock market in the US had a plus 18% return. If you take the worst 10 days, then it jumps to 125%. If you take out the best 10 days, then it comes down to minus 33%. So essentially, you have those critical moves as well in trading. The issue is obviously being experienced enough to have the importance of thinking about it when things are starting to bubble to the surface. And so, yeah, I mean, I think this is very interesting. I found is that in chess you have probably critical moments when you prepare first. You have to prepare before you enter your game. So you prepare the first moves. Then probably you are going to have a good think when you transition from the opening to the middle game. You have to think a lot when you transition to the end game, because it's more technical. And also you think a lot when, you know, your opponent gives you a gift. So then you start saying, oh, there must be something here.
Sure, of course.
Absolutely. And the last one, and that's, I think, the most difficult one, that's how you probably become a grandmaster, is when you have enough intuition. You spoke about intuition to understand some strategic turning points. Something is happening on the board and you just sense that, yeah, you have to take 22 minutes to think about this. And in trading, it's exactly the same. You have Before the beginning of the year, you have yearly strategy allocation. So you know this year you spend a lot of time thinking how I'm going to open my moves, what I'm going to do as a trader. And then you have obviously the transitions, so the quarterly reviews. And then you have the macro events, which in chess we call tactics, something happening in the company. We have the macro events, which is the strategic. And then the sacrifice over when you lose money, you start thinking about why you are losing money. So that's what I'm going to finish with. I think some beautiful quotes. Max Uwe, the world champion, strategy requires thought, tactics require observation. And I think that's what trading and chess have in common, and other disciplines do not. Chess, you have to be at the same time very strategic and at the same time very tactical. And the last one, which I think I explained, and I think it applies to both. I think Ken Fisher has a nice name for a financier who is not a chess player. He says, "Time in the market beats time in the market." So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot. Now, from the long list of topics related to both chess and economics, I'm going to propose just two of them for a short discussion. And the first is gender diversity in the two fields, chess and economics. In chess, we have one woman playing for every 10 men, and only one woman among the top 100. According to the majority opinion, sorry, I think the key point is education, because in most of the countries, chess has a label of masculinity. I think that in economics, the difference in numbers is also very big. But then the question is, what do you think about that, starting by Dana? In economics, is also educational the main reason for that difference?
Yes. While I became the Minister of Economic Affairs in Latvia, I noticed that among the last 22 ministers, I was only the second woman, and the same went for the ministers of finance. In the whole history of Latvia, I've been only the second lady holding that position, and the first one was not staying there longer than one and a half months. So, and it is about the education, of course. The same as in chess. I mean, it's difficult for us to consider that might be true, because I come from a Western country. I come actually from a country where the statistics say that 52% of the management top positions are being held by ladies, without any special gender quotas. But we should understand that the world is diverse, and there are so many countries in the world where the parents do not consider chess being appropriate for the girls. So it's also about finance and in education in general. There are so many countries in the world that the parents think that the girls have to be the best in the household, and they do not even consider giving them the best education, just the minimum, so that it's nice to talk with you. Yes. So and I think this is our common duty and obligation to give this chance and opportunity, education, and that's why also I'm such a great fan of introducing chess in education, because that is the doors to the hearts of those girls, that is the doors to the hearts of their parents, showing that this is a game for the girls and this is the way how they can excel in their lives. Education, chess, as one example, finance and other technical educational subjects as the others, and the world will just become more diverse and stronger, using this different mindset of women as well in very technical areas as finances.
More ideas?
Yeah, I think what Dana is saying is right. There is one thing which is very important. In some societies, when you put girls and boys playing chess, and when the girls are beating the boys, it's giving a signal, a message to the parents that there is an ability also for the girls to be there, because we're talking about the technical skills and other things, and that's very important to have that, because this is better than any word when a girl is beating a boy in some societies. On the other hand, when it's required at the moment many engineers, and when you look at the markets and everywhere, you have many men. In France, in other countries, they are trying to have in the scientific sector more girls to come and to have access to positions of engineers, of developers, for softwares, which is very important because it is bringing in those companies elements that are important also to have a harmonious society. So chess, by teaching chess, by bringing chess to girls, to have more girls, it can also help to have access to those things, because I remember many companies were asking us, we need that. But of course, chess is one of the way where you can bring the girls to those scientific sectors that are needed, I mean, for the very near future.
There are not a lot of girls in trading floors. I mean, in economics, there are certain fields where you find women, but I was quite surprised how few girls are on trading desks. I mean, 1 out of 10, maybe less, in the trading floors I visited. I'm not sure 100% why, but my view, purely out of experience, is that girls need more mentoring, and especially when we get into a competitive field or a competitive industry, then what I notice is that when they get into boardrooms or top management, yeah, they're fine. But the difficulty is when they start at the bottom, and when they have to go through the jungle, what I would call the jungle, then generally girls have a tendency maybe to be more classy than boys. And I think my own perception, just from business perspective, is I think we should be thinking about specific mentoring programs for girls. I mean, whether it's in business or whether it's in chess. The way chess is marketed today, especially with bullet and with the aggressive side of it, I'm not sure girls would be that attracted to. And I think we have to maybe find ways to make it more social, whether it is for chess or whether it is for economics. I think as well, economics, I think things on the business side have started moving. I think there is more importance to work-life balance. But I have to say, you know, in some bastions, especially economics and finance, where money talks, you know, there have been some articles that you may have read about some of the top investment banks and how they treat their analysts, and the conditions are extremely difficult. I wouldn't want my girl to be there, so I understand why girls would shy away from that. So I think it's important to transition the same as with chess. I think from the beginner side in chess to the intermediate level, that's where we need to put a lot of work. Once they get there, then girls are fine. But I think, yeah, we may have an environment, whether it's in chess or in finance, which is not packaged properly.
Mm-hmm. Bashar, this morning you told me that about 25 years ago, the human decision on trading was more important than the algorithm. And therefore, being a chess player was very useful to be a good trader. But now we have extremely sophisticated and very powerful algorithms. So the question for the three of you is it is still useful to be a chess player to be a good trader?
Well, I will jump. So first of all, as Tarek was saying even this morning, you have a lot of traders in the world of chess. Why do you have a lot of traders? Because it's similar. You're playing 40 moves and you're taking several decisions. And you're always taking decisions. And you don't have to be emotional about it. You have a position, you have the market position, you have the market, the chess position, and you just have to play a move. And this is also implying that we might make mistakes, in fact, but we have to take decisions. We cannot just wait. There is not the inertia of what Dana was saying about the politics, where you wait, you want to postpone the decision because you're always afraid to take the wrong decision and that it's risking your career or whatever. But here, you have to play, and in fact, the people who play chess, they are accustomed to play moves. And if they are good, they are on the top, and we know them. And so, in fact, it's a mechanism that is necessary, I mean, at my time, on the market, where you would take positions, and you would just look at the situation, you would follow, of course, information, as was saying Leoncio, and you analyze. You analyze the situation, and then you take a decision. And so there are some kind of similarities, I mean, between that. We are not, of course, if you're not afraid at all, you might make very big mistakes. You have to have a kind of, not fear, but you have to be careful when taking the decision, like over the chessboard. So there are similarities in that, but today, as was saying Tarek, and I was reading very carefully what he was saying regarding the intraday frequent, and that it was not really that good, so you still have to be like a hunter to snap, as say, with a trader who has experience and who will go into the moments he believes, he understands with his experience that there is an opportunity. I have done some of very good shots at points where people on the market were so scared because it was just going down so much. But at one point, people are so scared that they are not able to take decisions also because they think it will collapse even more. So I have known all those, I mean, type of possibilities on the market. When he was talking about the black swan, I mean, you have some kind of days of that kind that happen. And okay, you never know them. If you know them, you would be really making money every time. You don't make money every time unless you are Warren Buffett. You invest in what you call solid things that you understand. When you play a move of chess, you have to understand what you're doing. And when you are investing, you have to try to understand what's going on and what is it is related to.
When I was listening to Tarek's presentation, one thought came to my mind. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was, at least for me, it was interesting. That I considered that what is the difference between chess and trading is that chess is actually a very objective game, a universal game. It's mathematically objective, but it is distorted by the limited ability of the human being's mind. Yes, so. But in general, it's objective. And of course, the stronger the computer programs are, I mean, they're objective. They can easily reach the ideal in that game. While in trading, nevertheless, you make the analysis, you have huge data. I think that it is less objective than chess because all the businesses are still part of a wider context, economics, which is influenced by the reactions of the imperfect human beings. So, and that makes the difference, yes. Okay. As good the computer programs might be, they cannot predict all the reactions, very complex ones, of the society created by imperfect human beings. I don't know.
Yeah. No. I think I mean, obviously, of course, humans are going to be useful as long as the economy is run by humans.
Okay. Yes.
But I'll go a little bit further and maybe go into what Dana said in the beginning. When I was a young a young, how can I say, a young professional, and I just started working. I thought the more you move up, the more things will get intellectual, and the more you are going to be very smart. And actually, the more you move up, the more you have to deal with only people. And one of the mistakes, for example, that a lot of juniors in investment think about is when they see an investment, there is usually a business plan. And that business plan, mostly, it's an Excel spreadsheet. And so they would spend hundreds of hours looking at the spreadsheet and trying to find whether it's a good investment or not. With time, you realize that you can make a spreadsheet say whatever you want if you are good enough, because as you said, there are a lot of variables. So what makes the difference is the quality of the people, the quality of the management, and also the values. Values are very important. So yes, I mean, it is, I think the more it's interesting, a thought came to my mind that I think in order to get into this business, you have to be a technical guy, but if you want to move up, the more you move up, the more you have to be a human guy. And I think that's as well the case in Grandmasters. From what I understand, geniuses have that ability to understand the technical, but to add some intuition to that. That's what separates them. So I think, yeah.
Thank you. Now it's time for your questions, unless our host wants to propose some of the subject.
Well, actually, generally, I always say, you know, you have to prepare the first question because people are shy. So I'll go with the first question, and I want to ask this question from an economical point of view. I mean, I know Morocco, when we went to Dubai Expo and had our pavilion, we thought about the image that we project for tourism, but also the image that you will project for investment. And so we did a conference with actually our Minister of Finance. It's the first time in history, I think it's a lady, in Dubai Expo for the last day. So I had a chance to walk around, and I was extremely surprised to find chess in the Spanish pavilion, and not only a little bit of chess, but the whole pavilion was chess. So I was very intrigued, and I wanted to ask you about how did you come about taking that decision, and obviously as an economic decision, a promotion for Spain, what is the takeaways? I mean, we
Wasn't Leoncio supposed to be here to pose the questions, though?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tariq. As this was one of the possible subjects to discuss, we discussed about a few days ago. I had prepared some things as well. Well, this is the general motto of the Expo in Dubai, connecting minds, creating the future. As you can see, there is already some connection with chess, with thinking, and so on. And this is the concrete motto of the Spanish pavilion, intelligence for life. What happened was that since many years ago, I was repeating publicly in many interviews and lectures that we have strong reasons for Spain connecting its image to intelligence through chess. And one of the reasons is a connection between Arabic culture and Spanish culture, because Arabs took chess to Spain at the end, to the south of Spain, at the end of the 8th or 9th century. At the beginning, only the rich Muslims were playing chess, but with the time, everybody started to play chess, also Jews and Christians, which is very interesting about chess as a connection between cultures, religions, and so on. And the most important thing is that chess, as it is played today everywhere in the world, was created in Spain at the end of the 15th century, with the queen becoming the most powerful piece. And I think it's also important that since 1988, Spain is the country in the world organizing more international tournaments every year, and also a leading country in the educational, social, and therapeutic applications of chess. So the result of all that was this. That was the Spanish pavilion, and inside, the first thing you could see as soon as you go inside is this 22 meters long panel summarizing the 1500 years of history, and a big, giant floor table. The white pieces were Muslim and the black pieces were Christian, and 3 plain tables which were always full of people every hour, every day. It was very successful not only there, but also in the image of Spain, because the Spain pavilion got some awards, and everybody said in Dubai that the chess factor was one of the reasons to award the Spanish pavilion. Well, I think that linking the image of your country to intelligence is always good. And if you go to the street, not only in Casablanca or in Madrid or in Riga or in Paris, but anywhere in the world practically, and you ask the first 100 people going through, what is chess for you? More than 90% are going to include the word intelligence, or they will talk about intelligent people. So I think this is a very good investment in terms of stock market. Right? Any questions from you, please? We have a very shy audience, or is there somebody that is able to? We said a lot of interesting things, I guess.
I can add on you with my own experience about this image part. You know, the world of the ministers of finance and also economic affairs, that is the world of men, alpha men, actually. And the fact that I've been the world chess grandmaster has given me the bonus of being a smart woman, yes, being equal to these alpha men. So girls play chess.
Very good point. Very good point. Any questions from you? Really?
We've been very explicit.
Have we covered everything already?
Okay. Yes, please, over there.
Hi. So you mentioned earlier one of the problems why women are a minority in chess and as well in finance. And I personally think that for women, we don't have many role models to follow. And as young girls, we're always taught to be princesses and to look nice, when boys are thought to be strong and, you know, intelligent. And I read something that made me think about this, because there was a woman who said when she dresses her baby as a boy, like, you know, with neutral clothes, everyone says how strong she looks and how smart she, you know, she behaves. And when she dresses her as a girl, people say, oh, she looks so beautiful. You know, so why do people never say a boy looks nice and a girl looks strong, you know? So my question is to you, Dara. Who was your role model when you were growing up? Did you have, I'm not sure if the context is the same as we have in Morocco, because we don't have many women, you know, in top positions, but who was, I mean, the question is simple. Who was your role model when you were growing up? Thank you.
Honestly, my grandmother was a role model, with some lessons learned from her that you should never say that you don't have money, because then you will not have it. As long as you say that you do have it, it's always enough. She was never complaining about anything, and she was just quietly doing things rather than talking so much. That stems, I also think, to the great saying of Margaret Thatcher. Said that if you want something to be said, look for the man. If you want something to be done, look for a woman. Yes, yes, but you know, Margaret Albright said that there is a special place in the hell for the women who do not help the other women. And why she said so? Because of the fact that you mentioned there are not that many role models, especially in the world of finance, business in general, in chess, that those few who have been lucky, blessed by God, by circumstances, to take the leading positions, it is actually our task, our mission to be the role models and convey the message that whenever somebody tells you that you have to choose whether to be a good wife, whether to be a good mother, whether to be an excellent employee or a great leader, that's a wrong choice. You don't have to choose. Have it all, and you'll succeed.
Just to complete this, 2 weeks ago, I had the pleasure of interviewing once again Judith Polgar, the only woman among the top 10 in the history of chess. I asked that question, more or less the same, and she told me something I think is very interesting. She said, I have seen several chess coaches that when they are working with a very talented boy, normally they told him, okay, you are so good that you can be world champion. But if it is a girl, equally talented, the words will be a little bit different. You are so talented that you can be a female world champion. So they are already limiting the future of the talented players. And I think we should think about it. I think we have another question from that side. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Majda Brabij. I'm the Moroccan champion of speed reading and mind mapping. I have participated last edition in the World Speed Reading and Mind Mapping Championships, and I represented Morocco. And my question for you is, if I just wanted to know if a good reader can be a good chess player. Why? Because I think that chess, reading, and mind mapping are all brain sports, and I want to see if there is a link, because yesterday we have a chance to launch the first Moroccan championship of speed reading and mind mapping in Morocco and also in Africa, and I want to know if there is a link between chess and speed reading also. You know why? My question, because I have noticed that Warren Buffett, who is a very strategic finance I think personality, he is also a speed reader. He can read more than 500 pages in 1 hour. So I just want to know if there is a link between these brain sports. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know why Dana looked at me and said, you take that answer. So I'll give you my answer. I went into YouTube a few days ago and I saw a very impressive performance from Bashar, sitting next to me, playing blindfold game. So I don't know if you ever witnessed blindfold chess. And maybe this evening, maybe if we are all nice, Bashar will give us a demonstration. But Bashar was playing blindfolded, speaking about another subject, and at the same time thinking about a game. So I can't think why there is no relation, and I'll give the floor to Bashar.
Yeah, if I may answer, I think even more important than the speed reading, it is that a chess player can be a reader. Because nowadays, I think we all have noticed that we are scrolling down the text, and it's actually very difficult to focus yourself on a larger amount of information. While without focusing and digesting the information, especially when reading books, you cannot improve your emotional intelligence. And chess is actually one great tool that teaches the little kids to keep the focus, to see what is important, and to digest and process large amounts of information, and that's very, very good. But I believe for the speed reading, chess also helps because it allows you to see the space and grasp a lot of information at once. Yeah.
Bashar?
Well, I'm not an expert in that subject. I mean, sorry, but I can understand what you mean by speed reading, and I must say, because Dana was saying about reading and scrolling, it's very important to read, to count, and to respect. If you start with those three things from the childhood, then you can go for many things. So I remember when I was a young boy, my mother taught me reading, and I was reading at a very young age. And my father, who built the grid of electricity in Syria, and he was proud of that, he was taking me beside his bed when I was a 4 or 5 years old boy and just reciting the mental multiplication formula, the 9-1. And so, of course, when you go to that, it's very, very important. In fact, we were talking about education this morning. Speed reading is probably an ability to understand things, because to read at a very high speed, it means you have to understand also the words, and specifically also in Arabic, because they are also the other things that you have in that language. So it's, again, come to education. When you're talking about this, we're talking about education, and it's very, very important to educate our kids, reading, mental calculation, respecting, and then you will have a society, and not only scrolling, going from there, zapping from there, and then you have people who will not be able to focus, to concentrate, and to see what is the right thing. So Dana was talking very, very precisely about time, how you manage time. And that's also an important thing that you have to see. So reading, for me, is essential, and reading and calculating make that you have a complete setup of the discussion. If you read very well and you're not good in mental calculation, then something is missing. And if you are a fantastic calculator and you don't master, then something is missing. So it's always necessary, and chess is helping in all those transversal things to reach that.
I can add something which I think is very connected to your question. We have scientific evidence enough to say that chess develops both your ability in mathematics and in reading comprehension. Why reading comprehension? Well, of course, a very clear explanation is that chess develops very much your power of concentration. If you are very concentrated, you are going to read much better. But there is another connection, much more sophisticated, but I think is good. When we are reading or playing chess, our brain process is quite similar. In both cases, we are recognizing signs, letters, or pieces of different value, color, and size. We are associating those signs, creating words and sentences, creating moves combinations, and we are evaluating the consequences of those associations. The meaning of this sentence, who is better in this position, white or black, and why? A boy or girl who is used to that process because they are playing chess frequently, then they are automatizing the brain process. So this is transferable to the normal life. Any more?
Good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Absamad Bari. I'm a professor of Spanish, so I can do the question in Spanish, please, because my English is not that much.
Okay.
Okay, vale. Muchas gracias por ese evento y por la invitación. Mi pregunta es por la similitud de los patrones de ajedrez y la economía, porque sabemos que en el ajedrez podemos reconocer una posición a través de unos patrones, pero en la economía podemos tener la misma situación, pero necesitamos auxiliares, líquidos, económicos, dineros, bancos. No veo tanto la similitud entre la economía, en este caso especialmente que la influencia del tiempo en una partida de ajedrez, el tiempo es escaso, es un factor muy importante, mientras que la economía es un factor casi ausencia, ¿vale? Hay una ausencia de tiempo en algunos aspectos. Es verdad que también en la economía hay ciertos patrones que podemos reconocer en el market, que podemos ganar o perder. Esa es la pregunta. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias a usted. The question is about templates. I mean, templates recognition is a very important capacity for a chess player. But the question is also that important in economics because several factors like time and others are different. So can we also say that templates recognition in economics is important?
So to be more specific, I think you are referring to pattern recognition. Is there patterns that you can replicate? There is a whole field of trading, which actually I hate, but it's very popular. It's called chartism. And essentially what this field of trading says is that I don't care what are the news, I only care about the price movements. And I think that when there are certain price movements, then there are certain patterns and things will happen afterwards. So they go about a price of a security and they do this relatively more or less complicated charts to say, well, this has happened and this has happened and this has happened, so I think this will happen and I will take a position. So yeah, there is maybe a whole field of traders that are within that framework, and because it hasn't gone out of business yet, so it probably works. So yeah, pattern recognition, there is a whole field of trading which is dedicated only, it's called chartism, it's only dedicated to pattern recognition and saying through patterns I am going to take a position because I think this will happen.
Thank you. The last question we will take, I think it was another one.
There is a gentleman, yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Thank you very much to you, everyone in his name, for this precious exposition. And my question is addressed to Mr. Tariq Sanhaji. And it is in which form you can see economics and chess in Morocco in a position of win-win. And thank you very much. المهم نقدر نقول لك السؤال بالعربيه، يعني الرؤيه ديالكم الاقتصاد والشطرنج في المغرب في يعني كرابح ليكونومي، لان لو برانسيب ديال ليكونومي هو ديال الانفستيسمون هو الربح. وكيفاش تشوفوا الرؤيه ديالكم يعني كاقتصاديين انكم بغيتوا تانفيستيو في لي زيشيك او لي زانفيستيسور انهم ينفيستيو في لي زيشيك وتكون كلشي رابح؟ وشكرا.
شكرا بارك الله فيك. So I think, I mean, just to put the question in a different way, I think the question is why we as finance operators and we as the Casablanca Stock Exchange are we looking into chess and investing into chess? And obviously there is a very short answer. I think if the Kingdom of Spain with all his brain power decided to invest in chess for Dubai Expo, that means that it's good for Casablanca Stock Exchange to do it. But in a more I am really sorry, but I'm going to be very economical here and very an economist. I think in terms of resources invested and impact on people, I think for us as economic operators, there is no doubt that the best investment is chess. It's not very expensive to support chess. You buy a few chess sets. You have some very kind masters and grandmasters who are happy to help just to help the community. So I think as a country we don't have unlimited resources. I think chess is a fantastic avenue in terms of economic costs and resource versus intellectual and economic impact. I think it's a fantastic stock, so we are buying.
For me, it has been a wonderful experience to be the presenter of this debate. And well, I think that as our host is among us, the last word should come from him.
Well, I see myself every day, but I don't see this wonderful guest. So maybe I'll give the last word to Bashar first, and then Dana, please.
Yes, I would once again like to thank you, Tariq, and all the colleagues for organizing this wonderful event. I think by looking for the similarities, we actually also better see and appreciate the diversities. Yes, that's one thing. And the other one, I just wanted to finish with, and I was thinking about what I was thinking about while I was listening to your presentation. One lesson that I've learned from chess, and it also goes for the finance, it also goes for any kind of business, it also goes for the whole life. Chess, business, life, it's not a sprint, it is a marathon. And that is why it is worth to follow the fair play principles. That is the only sustainable way. So this is the lesson learned, and this is something that I would be happy that any trainer would teach to the little kid, a chess player, or a future financist, a future minister, a future president. Fair play is the key.
Yes, difficult to end after such a short resume. I would say that our lives are done of emotions, learning, curiosity during all our life. We are lucky because when we learn chess, we have a common language all over the world. The rules are the same. The pieces are not the same, but the rules are the same. So the kids who are taught chess will go all over the world and will have their Esperanto somehow, which is a chess game. So that's very important, and we are, I would say, living database all the time, learning. When they said, that the library of Alexandria, which was burned, you have lost many things. When we are learning in chess, we're learning every day, and we're bringing the things that are very, very important for the future. So the wealth of chess is all this learning capacity that we are bringing to all the people. So again, I would like to thank the Stock Exchange of Casablanca, the city, the Casa Events, for organizing this, because it's very important to share experiences from different sectors and to see what are the common things that we can do together. Thank you very much.
And thanks to all of you, of course, for coming here. Thank you very much.
Merci tout le monde. Je mets mon grain de sel, bien sûr. On a prévu un petit cocktail en haut, donc vous êtes tous bien invités, bien sûr. Et on a prévu une simultanée avec nos grands joueurs. Et donc on a 15 positions. On privilégie les gens qui ne jouent pas de manière professionnelle, je pense, pour que ça soit plus intéressant pour tout le monde.
Et les autres
donc,
auront leur soirée.
voilà, et les autres auront leur soirée. Et donc, si vous voulez jouer, venez chez l'une des personnes de la bourse et puis on vous inscrira pour la simultanée. Voilà. Rendez-vous au premier étage.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, very intellectual at them, huh?
Well done.
Yeah.
As usual.
Parce que Dana, elle m'a fait un teasing hier, elle m'a dit, so yesterday you teased me, you said, well, you know chess and economics, I wasn't seeing necessarily, so it turned